Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday morning trading session. Hang on just a second here while I get the screen sharing going on. Okay, the market's just opened up, and you can see here from the Eagle, the overnight was kind of quiet, but still a fairly substantial opening gap. Yesterday, the market a little bit more range bound. We did get a rule of three style signal about an hour before the open this morning, which led to the market tailing off. And now we've got a little bit of an opening gap here above the market. We'll see whether they try to get into that gap or not. For the most part, though, looking like another sideways kind of day. Okay, we are getting a first micro-macro cross signal here in the hawk. I'm a little bit late on it, but there you go. If you wanted to take that signal, I probably would go in a little bit easy to start the day. You can see we're back down here toward the overnight lows. The market's reacting a little bit. Here's a chance on the Raptor. You could do a second push entry. They're not going to give me a chance. This was the bar here that gave us the second push. All the second push entry means is that we allow the signal to engage, we allow the market to react to the signal, and then we place our entry below. All right, here's another chance to try to go. There we go. That's actually a better looking one. So we know the current low of the market. Current low is 48.07 3/4. I can place an order to enter 48.07 half. It's really the second push of this signal right here. And that's just one of those trades where you're trying to test the water, if you will, just to see which way the market might be going. If there's a particular bias higher or lower. Right now, it definitely looks lower. I do believe our hawk trade found its profit objective. So there was the first micro-macro cross, hit the profit target, reacting now to the lows. I wonder if we're going to get another sideways range kind of day. Sometimes, pardon me, we just need to give them a few minutes to get their bearings. All right, things turning a little bit more bullish on the Raptor now. You could interpret this as a soft edge buy because we've retested the low and now we've come back with a buy signal. All right. So the soft edge buy has now turned into a double pullback signal. So the market very conflicted at the moment. I suppose you could even do an OCO type trade. Yeah, thanks, Tony. Tony says jobless claims came out at the open at 8:30, crude oil at 11. Oh, sorry, 8:30. You're looking at Eastern time. So that was 5:30. That was pre-market. And crude oil inventory, of course, at 11 o'clock today because of the Labor Day holiday. Crude oil inventory gets put off a day. All right, several first micro, well, several. There's only one first micro macro cross signal that developed right here. We got the green bar sell. We keep testing these lows and the market's not going any lower. So maybe what I'll try is we'll try to set up to buy it. And what I should do is maybe I'll just do a onesie here and we'll put a runner on it. There we go. So no clear indication yet which way this market's going to break. We're getting a little bit of a tight sideways pattern going on, but there's an obvious rejection here at the lows. Of course, if it breaks down below the lows, prices will continue lower. So you could do an OCO type trade. Right? We could do an OCO. I've already got this short signal here on the Raptor, so I'm not going to duplicate it here on the Hawk. So I've got my buy above and my sell below, but if you wanted to do an OCO, you could use your OCO function here, and you could enter your short below the low and your buy above the high of the morning, which is right about here, I guess. Now remember, when you're using the OCO function, these orders are live the moment you put them on your chart. And I guess I better get a stop and play here as well. So I can cancel this order now because we've engaged the trade to the short side. And I'd better get a stop and play here also. All right, well, we'll start with that. And we'll move that above the high of the morning right there. Jim says the DAX is a little bit stronger than the NQ. We'll see whether or not that pulls the DAX up a bit, or pardon me, the NQ up a little bit. So you've got another chance at a first micro macro cross slash 4-arrow consolidation. It's currently only 3 arrows, but the concept is the same. I have to say though, I am not liking the lack of follow through here. All right, so here comes the 4th signal. So we're getting our 4th warning dot. It's also pulled into a macro pullback situation. So this is really the last chance for the sellers to get their act together. If they can't push the market lower from here, then we'll very likely see a little bit of a reversal and a possible rally. What time is it? It's about 10 minutes into the session. Okay, so once they give me another bar lower, I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive with my stops. I'm not going to give them too much room here to move around. Come on, just one more bar. Come on. There we go. All right, I'm going to squeeze this trade pretty hard now. All right, that's all they're going to get. Yeah, that's all right. I'd rather take the early stop out. Okay, the rafter giving me one more little bounce here off of the hard edge. Thanks, Jim. Jim says the advanced decline, we got 1100 on the buy and about 1480 on the sell, but that opening gap is going to skew those numbers a little bit. So even though it looks a little bearish on the surface, it may not be quite as bearish. Pretty sure they're going to tag me here in a moment. Crude oil, pretty non-committal this morning as well. No doubt that's due to the crude inventory report that's pending. Just waiting out the Raptor here, but if we ride this one out, I think it's going to be a little bit more luck. Again, it's just the rejection of the lows, right? The market not looking like it wants to go much lower. Sometimes you get a very clear indication of this if you join the lows. You know, normally we draw trend lines in a downtrend on this side, but if you join your lows, sometimes you get a pretty clear picture of a market that's starting to flatten out a little bit. Now we don't have this part here yet, unless you want to draw a little itty bitty one that way. But we have lost a lot of that initial momentum. Okay, getting a little bit of a push now. The market's looking for buyers again, so the sellers stepped in. Well, look at that. Almost to our break even. I may even go to a more aggressive stop now, maybe parabolics. Oh, there we go. We got the break even. Well, there's a lot more follow through there than I thought we were going to see. That's all right, though. I don't mind taking the early stop out that I did here on the Hawk and the Eagle, even though it ended up costing me a couple of dollars. It was still what I planned for the trade. You know, you're going to feel worse about those trades that you go into that you don't have any plan for. Where you're just doing things by the seat of your pants. Tom says, move into the November contract for crude. It's got a little bit more action going on. All right, let's check out November crude. The nice thing about crude oil is you can trade almost any month. There's so much liquidity in it. And Jim says crude inventory, or crude jumped at 1630 on a large inventory drawdown. Jumped 80 cents. So that would have been during the overnight. Actually, November crude kind of painting the same picture as October, which, of course, is not a real surprise. It's what we would anticipate. Yeah, Jim pointing out there's still a lot more volume in October crude, 187,000 versus 56,000, but regardless, that's more than enough volume. So when you start looking at markets like oats, where you get maybe 500 contracts traded all morning, that's when things could get a little bit dicey. Good question. Daniel's asking, would the rollover on some of the futures contracts have an effect on the market heading lower today? Not usually. Um, Sometimes rollover days, the market is more active. And I know Ninja prompts you that today is rollover day for your stock indices. But in actual fact, we still have another week on them. But they will start to get a little bit thinner as more and more traders move into the December contract. Salish says, I've got different charts on October crude. All right, let's bring over October crude. Excuse me a second. a sneeze in your ear. Okay, so here's the hawk on October crude. I've been watching this macro pullback signal here for a little while. And the market, the problem I'm having with October crude is it's sideways, right? And I don't necessarily want to buy in the middle of a sideways range, having to risk it down there only to watch the market draw all the way against me. Now we're getting a red bar buy. The lower we get it within this trading range, the more desirable a buy opportunity would be. But I have to say, at the moment, crude starting to get a little bit of a bearish flavor to it. I fully expect it to drift here to the bottom end of the trading range around 46.10. If we get the red bar buy signal, currently we only have the warning dot along with a red bar that's trying to form. I might try to short it instead. We'll see if they give me that opportunity. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we've got the warning dot still on a red bar. Are you going to give me the little uptick here so I can short you? Daniel's asking, are you going to move into the December contract or wait until next week? I'll probably ride out September for this week, unless tomorrow too many people say, hey, Eric, you're still in the September contract. Then I'll roll early. But a lot of times I would roll, I would trade September up until almost the very last day, because there's still plenty of liquidity, which means they expire on the 17th, so I would trade September until the 15th or sometimes even the 16th. But I get too many people in the room asking me why I'm still trading September when Ninja prompts you to roll into December, so I end up rolling early. Jim says throw a trend line on that crude chart. Here we go. So getting a little trend line support, it appears. Getting a little buying support in the NASDAQ as well. It looks like we got tagged here on the reversal. So kind of trading dollars right now. Made a little, lost a little. Come on, get up there. Give me that signal. You stinkers, you. I'm also watching a possible trend change here on the Falcon. Honestly, I'm just looking for a reason to get short on crude oil right now, because I think it's going to go to the bottom end of the trading range, and I'd love to be able to pick it up for a couple of ticks. While we're waiting on that, We are getting a first micro macro cross signal here in soybeans. The hard edge on our eagle is right here as well, so I would probably enter below the low, at least cover to there. And I know it's a pretty big stop, but unfortunately we got to give the trade a little bit of room this morning. And we've since lost our red bar buy opportunity on crude, so we'll put that back on the shelf for now. And now we're just kind of watching and waiting again. Buyer's getting a little bit stronger. Yeah, you and me both, Jim. Jim says I've had a difficult time trading these last few weeks. There's been a considerable amount of chop in the market. You've had to, I think, run some pretty wide stops and really just pick a direction and try to stay with it. Try not to mix it up too much, because the market has been trying to give you some, well, I don't want to say false signals, but we're getting some signals with very little follow through. All right, let's see if we can get a green bar sell going here, working on a possible trend change signal here. I'd love to see a buy signal on the Raptor. We've had our retest of the low, itty bitty retest of the low. We could come in with a soft edge buy signal. The band's getting a little bit wide here. We may have a little bit of an uptick. Or not. They're trying. We're trying to get some sort of signal going on here. Well, that might account for some of the uptick. Jim says this news came out at 17:30 Eastern. U.S. crude inventories collapsed by 12 million barrels this week. So we did see crude rally somewhat through the overnight. Here's crude on the Eagle. So 17:30, that would be around 5:30 my time, 4:30 my time. A little bit of an uptick. It looks like the market was already anticipating that news before it even released. One thing you need to bear in mind with the news is that a news reporter sees the world through the lens of the news, right? And there's going to be a reason for everything. So if prices go down or if prices go up, as it did in the case of crude oil, what was the reason for that? And so then they start scouring the news feeds looking for a reason for crude oil prices to rally, which may or may not be the reason crude oil prices rallied. All right, we're getting a little bit more sideways action here. 1, 2, 3. Well, I suppose you could have considered that a 4-arrow consolidation, even though that third signal did not trip. We did get 1, 2, 3. That's the fourth signal trying to send prices lower. Soybeans tailed off nicely. Hit our profit objective. Hooray for us. So a little first micro-macro cross signal. Crude oil continuing to slip to the bottom end of that trading range that we looked at earlier, but still without a signal. Okay, this could make for a very nice retest of the low here on the Raptor. Our test of the extreme. If we get the market coming back here with a buy signal now, that could be a very tempting buying opportunity. Oh, and here we come back with the sell signal instead. Let's see what else we got here. All right, well, it's a decent sell signal, folks. See if we can get a second push on that one. No, they're not going to give it to me, stinkers. no. Tony says I forgot to hit the submit button on the soybean trade. I hate it when that happens. Yeah, soybeans falling off nicely. Crude oil all the way back to the hard edge now. So a rather dramatic decline for crude oil. That four-arrow consolidation here in the NASDAQ with a little bit of follow through. And still more rejection of the lows or at the lows. My goodness. The market is trying desperately to become bullish. And the bears keep knocking it down, but they can't hold on to it either. I think we're going to see a little bit of an uptick here. I really do. After breaking the lows here, let's take a look at the Raptor. After breaking the lows here, I would have anticipated a lot more follow through to the short side. Now they're coming right back. It's almost like you can only go in with scalps today. Okay, I thought we might get this could develop into a double pullback. There's a soft edge buy signal. I'm going to take a chance on this. I'm going to take the soft edge buy. Hold my stops here below the low. Now, technically, this is a little bit of an early attempt at a soft edge buy. I'm treating this as a retest of the low and a failure, just based on what we've been watching all morning. That prices have come down, they've struggled, they've come down some more, they're struggling. So I'm starting to think if they keep struggling going lower, there's obviously buying going on down here, right? Right out of the gate, we saw the market make a little bit of an uptick. It got slammed, headed lower. Buyers were supporting it, supporting it, supporting it. This was the biggest move on the part of the sellers. And yet the buyers came back and continued to support it. So we'll see now whether or not we get some follow through from that. And again, this is a little bit more aggressive on my part. Ideally, what we want to see before we do that soft edge buy, the soft edge buy must always be preceded by a retest, a test of the extreme. Normally, it looks like this, though, where we get a retest of the low, and then the market goes. That's one advantage to day trading, is when you watch the market unfolding, sometimes you get a little bit of a feel for what the market might be doing. versus just looking at a static chart and trying to interpret what's going on. All right, there we go. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty significant point right here at 48.06. Obviously, that's where prices turned before. That was also, previous support level where there was a fair amount of buying, and then the sellers pushed the buyers down and then pushed the buyers down again. So 48.06, big hurdle. Yeah, we might get that little retest of the low after all. Look at that buying pressure. I don't know if you noticed the Geiger counter. It must have been stuck here on the buy side for a good 3 to 5 seconds. Okay, they're trying. I've got my first profit target and my break even at the same price at 48.06. There's 48.05. Come on. Don't make me pull out the magic mouse. Darn it. Come on. Now they're getting stuck here at 48.05. Let's take a look at our support and resistance suite. Oh yeah, sure. So a nice little bounce here off the secondary. Now we're stuck on this secondary support line. Looking to breach that and perhaps get back up here to 48.12. That would be a nice little move. We don't have all the elements of a first micro macro cross yet in the hawk. If you're viewing this thinking, oh, I got a buy signal. No, not yet. Our macro line is not in sync just yet. All right, let's go back here to the action on the Raptor. There we go. We hit our first target. I'll enable my break even. There we go. Come on. You can do it. Crude giving us a little bit of a bounce off of the primary support level. I would very much like to see this get somewhere back toward the middle of this trading range before the inventory at the top of the hour. Otherwise, we've got a very large range to try to bracket. Well, they're going to come back here and tag me at break even on the rest of this position, but that's okay. All right, well, we still managed to hit our first profit target. It's still tough to tell whether this market is transitioning or not. Now we have a first micro macro cross signal. You're better off entering above here. Well, if you enter above there, you don't need to risk it all the way below there. You could probably risk it here. The problem is that you see where the entry is at 48.06 3/4. If I took it on the hash mark, oh, sorry, not showing it. We're giving up about half of our scalping target just to get entry above the high. So if you wanted to be a little bit more aggressive on your entry, you could probably enter here. However, I would recommend running a deeper stop. It does get you into profit earlier. However, the safer entry is above that high. So you could enter above this high and perhaps run a slightly tighter stop. If we see a breakout above here, we should get a little bit more follow through as well. So it looks, I was going to say, we've broken the bearish trend line. Oh, yes, I guess we have. So here's that first micro macro cross signal yet. Right now it has not engaged yet, but we do have a complete signal. Yeah. Jim says, I ask myself, why am I doing this today? Oh, we've all had those days. Where they just don't seem to want to play nice. All right, so the first micro macro cross would have engaged on the entry here. Like I said, the problem with delaying the entry is you're giving up probably 3/4 of your profit objective just trying to gain entry on the trade. Soybeans now coming back the other way. After bouncing off of the secondary support, we're coming in with a trend change signal. So I don't know if we're going to see a major reversal here. I doubt it, but there may be enough in there for a little bit of a swing trade. I may reduce my profit target somewhere here around 980, treat it more like a scalp. But they are trying to get a little bit stronger. Okay, here comes the bullish push. Oh, and look at where they're flinching again. The seller's not making this easy on them, not one bit. If we could tie a couple of bullish rallies together, there may actually be a little bit more follow through. And no other signals per se, except that Raptor signal where we got tagged at break even on one of our positions, so we'll stay with this one. All right, a little bit of a slip on the entry, but that's okay, as long as we get some follow through. Wow, you guys. And girls. It's not just the guys tossing the market around like this. A lot of pressure from the sellers. I'd like to see at least another bullish attempt here before I start to get too quick with my stops. Here we go. Come on. All right, so let's... Come on, play nice. At least get up. Shoot. My concern is still for a macro pullback. All right, I'm going to enable my stop, but I'm going to leave it below this swing here. We're having to grind for every tick here. Yeah, Tony says the smart girls are doing needlepoint. Smart guys, too. You need a hobby when the markets are like that. You need to be doing something. Okay, there we go. We finally hit our break-even trigger. There we go. That's more like it. So we're sending a few of the sellers packing now. We'll move into the parabolic mode. Wow, they may even try to get into the overnight gap. You know that? There was a gap this morning, remember? The market opened around 48.20 and left off yesterday somewhere around 48.30, 48.25. That would be huge. Ooh, that'd be an enormous move. They're certainly pressing. This has just become a much more bullish market, obviously. Sellers trying to hold the line here around 48.15. Is that our primary? We've got to be close to our... No, not yet. So we blew through 48.12. This is kind of a delayed reaction now to the 48.12 support zone. Next stop, 48.18, where we should see the sellers attempt to recover the market, but right now things looking a lot more bullish. After a little bit of nail biting. Huh, it's funny, Jim just shot me some advanced decline numbers here. 1,200 on the buy, 1,500 on the sell. That's still rather negative in spite of the rally that we just saw. Come on, let's go. 48.18, next stop. No, get away from there. Shoo. Get up there. Let's go up. I'm going to close the trading room down here in in a couple minutes. We're going to close it up a little bit early today. It's our grandson's birthday, and I want to make sure I catch him before he heads off to school this morning. No? All right. Well, that was a decent little trade. If you're going to continue trading this morning, I think we can anticipate the market to put in a little bit of a rally as a result of this recent uptick here, which began at the top of the hour. So for about the last 35-40 minutes, the market has been advancing. We're going to see the sellers try to recover the market because we're into the hard edge here now. But at the moment, it does appear as though the buyers have control. So I would think for the remainder of the morning session anyways, we may expect one more bullish push. We're working on a possible cloud crossover here on the Raptor. Cloud's not entirely crossed over yet. You can see the shadow of the one cloud crossing over, but the formation is right. The market is drifted high enough, the clouds are crossing, the market's coming back into the clouds. We would anticipate it to come out of here now and try to push higher. The only thing that concerns me really is we haven't had a really good retest of the low. That may come later today. I don't think, that the buyers are going to be able to sustain this rally forever. But certainly, like I say, maybe into the lunch hour. So another half an hour, 45 minutes. Yeah, I think that would make sense. So if we get another buying opportunity, you may be able to go in there, pick up a couple of ticks to the upside, and after that, we may just end up going sideways again, which seems to be the theme of the last week or so of trading. Crude oil inventory, of course, out at the top of the hour. The market seems fairly balanced at the moment. And soybeans continue to be bearish. So there may be another opportunity to short soybeans on a move lower. All right, you guys, I will catch up with you again tomorrow morning, bright and early. We'll talk to you then. Bye for now.